Donald Trump is now asking the United States Supreme Court to clear the way for major new restrictions on mail-in voting before the November midterm elections. The administration calls it election security, but state officials and voting rights groups warn that eligible American voters could lose access to their mail ballots. So, is this really about protecting elections or making voting harder? Trump's executive order would create a new federal system for mail-in voting. States planning to use the Postal Service for mail ballots would have to submit lists identifying voters approved to receive those ballots. The Postal Service would then use those lists when processing election mail. That would give the federal government and the Postal Service a powerful new role in a process traditionally controlled by individual states. Here is one of the biggest problems. The order calls for key voter information to be provided approximately 60 days before Election Day. But many states allow eligible voters to request a mail ballot much closer to the election. That raises a serious question. What happens to someone who legally requests a ballot under state law after those lists have already been prepared? The Trump administration argues that these changes are needed to protect election integrity and prevent ineligible people, including non-citizens, from voting. Election security is important. Nobody should be voting illegally, but major voting restrictions should be based on proven problems and reliable evidence. You do not protect an election by creating a system that could block lawful voters, along with anyone who might be ineligible. The Constitution gives the states the primary responsibility for running elections, while Congress has the power to set or change certain federal election rules. And if Donald Trump wants major changes to how elections are run, there is already a constitutional process for doing that. Congress can pass laws within its authority, and the courts can decide whether those laws are constitutional. But Donald Trump cannot simply take power that the Constitution gives to the states and Congress just because he wants a different voting system. That is not how the system is supposed to work. After losing in the lower courts, the administration turned to the Supreme Court, and as usual, when he can't get his way in the lower courts, he takes the fight higher. And let's keep it real. Donald Trump appointed 3 of the justices sitting on that Supreme Court. So now he's sending his lawyers to the Supreme Court, asking the justices, including 3 that he appointed, to give his administration the result it couldn't get in the lower courts. I'm just keeping it real. Trump is asking the justices to lift the court order and allow the new mail voting program to move forward while the legal fight continues. This does not mean the Supreme Court has approved Trump's plan. It means the administration has asked the court for emergency permission to begin enforcing it. And because the midterm elections are approaching, the timing matters. Mail voting is used by senior citizens, military families, people with disabilities, rural voters, people working long hours, and Americans who cannot easily reach a polling location. And Donald Trump himself has used mail voting, including as recently as March 2026. Critics warn that even a small mistake or mismatch in a federal system could put an eligible voter's mail ballot at risk. And once that vote is missed, nobody can give that voter Election Day back. Election security matters, but protecting the rights of eligible voters matters too. Before Donald Trump and his administration, or any federal administration, gets this much control over mail ballots, they should have to prove that the change is legal, necessary, and accurate. Donald Trump, and no president, Republican or Democrat, should be allowed to rewrite the rules of an election right before people vote without clear constitutional authority. And I'm keeping it real. This looks like an attempt to change the way voting works in a way that benefits him politically. You don't get to change the rules because you think the existing rules might hurt your chances of winning. November is coming. Pay attention. Know what is happening. Protect your vote. And when the time comes, vote, vote, vote. Share this video so others know what's happening, and make sure you subscribe to Beyond the Headlines for more stories like this.